All right, here we are. Welcome back to another episode of Message to the Young Athlete. I'm your host, Brandon Davis, and today we have a special guest. Today, this guest is someone I've been knowing over the last 20 years. Me and this guest also played high school sports together at West End High School, which is located in Birmingham, Alabama. He was a standout athlete in all sports. After high school, he signed a letter of intent to the University of Vanderbilt, where he was an all-time receptions leader when he left. He was SEC all-conference 3 times. He later went on to be drafted in the NFL, the 3rd round, the 70th pick by the Chicago Bears. He went on to have a great career, which he played 6 years. After retiring from the NFL, he was named to the SEC Legends list in 2015. And after that, he was named to, he was inducted into Vanderbilt's Hall of Fame in 2017. Great friend, everyone. Welcome to the podcast, Earl Bennett.
Hey man, so basically what you're saying is that I was a pretty good athlete.
Nah, man, you were great. I ain't no pretty good, man. Oh, man. Just to say this, like, you're the only dude I know that never played baseball and went out the first year and was like all world. I think you got invited to the Junior All-Star game.
All-Star game.
Yeah. So that's a testament of what type of athlete you were.
No, man, I appreciate you having me on the show, man. A message to the athlete speaks volume. I know for me, being a former athlete and currently working, on my PhD in higher education athletic administration, is that one thing that a lot of people never really have these hard conversations about, what it means to be an athlete,
right?
While you're playing, but also like after you're playing,
right?
You have people that kind of tinker around the situation, but nobody really gives them concrete evidence or ways to, really look at the situation with a critical lens. So, man, salute to you. Appreciate you having me on the show. We're going to have fun, as always. So I look forward to whatever question you ask me, man. I'm an open book. As you know, we've been knowing each other for 20 years and look forward to the next 20 years, just continue to grow.
Yeah, for sure, man. Again, I appreciate you jumping on. You're a guy that I kind of look to and look up to as far as to, how you grown after playing the sports, man. Like most guys, the percentage of high of guys that actually lose their money or grow broke or really just have a tough time transitioning. So I wanted to bring you on for sure because you're one of those guys that has the success. You're one of the small percent that has success moving forward afterwards. So.
Yeah, and the big thing was that is surrounding yourself with a team of people that has your best interests at heart. As you could attest to, most of the people that I hang around with now are the same people I hung out with in high school. Sure. I don't have this huge, members of guys that, have a posse or
right.
Like when we used to hang out or go do autograph signings or we did anything, it was just 2-3 guys with me. And those guys are the same people from high school that I still, converse with on a daily basis. So I've always been very intentional with knowing that, man, look, I can't have all these people around me because I can't take care of all of them, right? Like you see, you hear the Antoine Walker story, you hear all these other guys that take care of, multiple people, and that's hard to do, especially while you're playing, but more so when you're done playing because those checks aren't coming in anymore. So for me, I was very cognizant and just seeing what was going on around me. And a lot of people don't know, like there are some close friends that got drafted with me the same year that went broke like 2-3 years later.
Right.
And just being able to understand that this money that I'm making now, I need to secure it, make sure that, when I do start having kids that they'll be taken care of. And from there, man, I just drew out like a plan, like every day. It's funny, I have this little smaller journal from when I used to go into meetings and I'd always start writing down little plans like, all right, do I want to look at this? Do I want to venture in that? like one time I wrote about doing like marketing, right? So then I started writing down like little marketing tips, see if I can market athletes. I didn't like that. That was my passion scratched, right? I was like, all right, let me do some sports talk radio. So I end up co-hosting ESPN 1000 on like Monday nights or Tuesday night. I think it was my third or fourth year in the league, right? So I write that down. I did that. It was fun. And then I got away from that. And I started to focus more so on just like the sports in my body because I started having some small issues with tissues and stuff like that. So once those injuries came, and then, I ended up playing, my final year, the sixth season, I was like, you know what, man, now it's time for me to start, putting into play what was in that notebook. And so I went back to school. I got my master's degree. And then I just started, just following the paper trail, meeting really good people, learning how to invest my money properly, and taking risks, but risks that aren't going to, put me in hindrance in terms of taking care of my family and making sure that I have enough money to provide. So taking smaller risks here, although, dollars build up fast, man, and just making sure that you protect those dollars. And a lot of people, we're not given that financial literacy in college. I mean, unless you're in like economics or you're taking account, we just, most athletes aren't into that. So unless you find a team and build those guys around you and guys that are in your best interest. I've been with my financial advisor since 2008. I mean, not many guys can really say they've been with the same guy since they, first got into the league. A lot of guys change and switch over. Even after the league, I'm still with the same guy. And so just making sure you do that, man, that's important. If I would, tell my son, tell anybody, tell your son, man, make sure you got some guys around you that genuinely has your best interest, and make sure you build a team that know like what you're trying to accomplish. Because I told my guys, the way I'm living now, it's the same way I want to live when I'm done playing football. And so we've been able to do that.
Yeah, you have to make those sacrifices.
Absolutely.
On the front end. So we're going to get into it, man. So the first question I usually ask everybody is, at what age did you start participating in sports, and what sport was it?
So this is a really funny story because I actually started participating in sports when I was 5.
Okay.
And I was playing on a 12 and under basketball team. That's how wild it is. Like looking back, I was on the same team with my brother. And the only thing that I could do at the time was catch and shoot.
Okay.
I was little, I was fast, I could move around. And this was ping league. I don't even think they still have ping league in Birmingham anymore. But I was playing like at the ping league, and I never forget. I was on a fast break, and there was this kid named Tashaka who was like well known like in the city of like Birmingham, and he's way older than me.
Is that the one that played at Parker?
Yeah, he played at Parker, and so I'm on a fast break one time, and I catch it, and I see him coming, and I travel right. I take like 3 steps because I know he gonna block it, and I lay up, and he goes to like swat it and miss it, and his elbow hit me in the top of the head. And mind you, I'm 5, he's like 11, 12, so like that elbow to my head was like bone crushing. I thought I was dead. I was literally just crying like the whole time. But I got into sport. I got into basketball at the age of 5, and I really enjoyed playing basketball. I started playing football when I was 7.
Okay.
And I never forget, I feel like my mom kind of just took me out there because my brother was playing at the time. Yeah. And when she took me out there, the coach was like, "Hey, you want to play?" And I was like, "Whatever, man. I'll play." Yeah. So he goes to his trunk and he get like some pants out. Got like oil, they smell like gas, and I put them on. Yeah. And then he got like shoulder pads, him, he put me on all this stuff. Mind you, this is my first time ever like doing anything football related. Right. And so I go out there. He's like, "Yeah, man, I need you as an offensive lineman." I was like, "Man, I don't know what an offensive lineman is, right?" Yeah. So I'm on the offensive line, and like kids, they just running me over, boom, just knocking me down. Right. I look at my mom. We get in the car. I go, "Yeah, I ain't football ain't for me. I'm gonna stick to basketball." Yeah. So that I started at 5 and 7, and then I came back to football. I didn't play when I was 7, but I came back to it when I was 8. And I started playing with Crestwood, which is on the east side of Birmingham. Right. And I was playing with East Thomas when I was 7. So I was on the west side, and then I came back to the east side to play with Crestwood. And I never forget, like when I was playing football, that I was like, man, why everybody got me playing offensive line? So I played offensive line and defensive end at Crestwood when I was 8 and when I was 9. And I'll never forget, like there was this one kid named Calvin. I can't think of his last name. He played at Hayes, but he was running back. He was the kid. He was the kid that was kind of bigger than everybody. He get to the sideline and he just gonna outrun you. Like that's all he did. And once he got to the sideline, you wasn't gonna catch him.
Right.
So I was it's funny because full circle, we ended up playing against each other in high school, and everything was totally different. And then, but just looking back, at 5 playing basketball, 7 starting football, but then 8 really playing. And I used to cry like every game. And that was like the funny thing. And now it's like I can't even like really get mad at my son when he cry at games, because like I cry like every game. But I used to play well. My son, he plays well, but he still cry. Yeah. So and he'll grow out of it, same way that I did. But it's just interesting to see. But yeah, I feel like I started too early because I have no idea of the concept or the fundamentals of football. But I mean, it all worked out in the long run.
Yeah, right. The same for me. Probably about 4 years old, 5. I actually started out playing football with my older cousins.
So why did you stop? Because you didn't play football in high school.
My mom didn't want me to play. My dad either. They was just like, we don't think you can take the because I'm slim, so.
Yeah.
I felt like I could have been pretty decent at it.
Yeah. I tried to recruit you, man. I tried to get you out there.
Nah, I seen the way y'all did Glenn out there. I was like, nah.
I could have threw you a couple fades. That's all we need. You just rebound, just go up, man.
Yeah. Well, then,
that's 10 touchdowns.
Over here, like, nah, you go back in that gym. So, yeah, I played maybe like 2 years, and then it was just like strictly basketball, a little soccer here. Yeah. Baseball a little bit. So, I was kind of all over the place, but basketball eventually just took over. So, yeah. One thing too, I remember before you got to West End, your brother and your cousin were both at West End. I was freshmen when they were there.
Yeah.
They would always tell me about you. They was like, man, my little brother, my little cousin, the truth, man. He coming. Yeah. He the truth. So in middle school, did you play? What sports did you play?
Yeah, so in middle school, I played pretty much everything. It's funny that those two were the ones to kind of, like hype me up. And like at the crib, they was the one that beat you up every day and tell you how sorry you was, right? Because like my brother was like the absolute worst, like perfect person like you ever meet. Like he didn't help me with schoolwork. He didn't help me understand the sports. He wouldn't help me with nothing. I'll sit there and be like, hey man, can you help me out with trying to figure out, this algorithm. Man, you dumb. I was like, oh my gosh, like this guy's brutal. And then my cousin, the only thing he says like, I'm better than you. Like every single day, I'm like, dude, I'm in the 8th grade. You're in like the 11th. I assume you'd be better than me, right? Like I got ways to go. And that's all like he would literally say was like, I'm better than you. I'm better than you. You ain't good. I'm better than you. And so to hear them, at school hyping me up is like,
listen, bro. They were like, nah, he true. He coming to take spots.
Man.
I'm like, man, who's this dude, man?
That's funny.
And what's crazy, and I got a question for you. Did Peanut play with you?
Yeah, so, in middle school in Birmingham, Alabama, you can't play in 6th grade. You can't play any sport. So I actually was like, I stopped playing football at 9, and I kept playing like ping basketball probably till I was like 10. But then we moved from the east side to the west side. And so when I got to the west side of town, I went to Green Acres Middle School, and I didn't play any sports. So I was just kind of like, you know what? Let me try the band. So I joined the band because my dad had played the trumpet. Yeah. Now, I was in band for probably like a week, and I was like, yo, man, this ain't me. Like I can't do this. Like I tried to play the trumpet, and then he was like, nah, you need to play the tuba. And I was like, nah, that ain't the move. So I stopped band, and I was just kind of just chilling. Like I wasn't playing no sports. I wasn't doing nothing. 7th grade come around, and they're having tryouts, and I was like, man, you know what? I'll just go try out. You just do like agility stuff. I did some agility stuff, and the coach was like, "Man, where you from?" And I was like, I was like, "Man, I'm from. I live in Central Park." He's like, "When you got to this side of town?" I was like, "Man, I moved here last year. The beginning of 6th grade." He was
Right.
like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "You played football before?" I was like, "When I was eight and nine, I played defensive end and offensive line." And he started laughing. He was like, "What?" He was like, "Nah." He was like, "Nah, you like fast." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I can run a little bit." And
Yeah.
he was like, "Well, we got a guy that's a starting running back. He'll probably be, the guy for like the next the next year. But your 8th grade year, you'll probably play running back. But your 7th grade year, you could be our starting safety because, like, I had the ability to cover the field." And I was like, "Man, I appreciate all that. But, like, you got to talk to my mama because I don't even supposed to be out here." And he was just like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, dog, I snuck out here. Like, I ain't going to even lie to you."
Right.
And he was like, "Okay, cool. I'll come by your house." Came by the house, talked to mom. She was like, "Long as he keep his grades up, he can play."
Right.
All right, cool. So, so I get out there 7th grade and I'm playing football, and we actually win. We win a championship, like 7th
Wow.
grade. Like we went all the way and won. Yeah.
Okay.
I played safety. I'll never forget my first tackle too. My first tackle in middle school. We were playing against Bush,
Mm-hmm.
and they had a running back. Mind you, I'm 7th grade. I'm small. I think I was probably like 5'4", 5'5".
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I had the quickness and I knew how to like tackle in terms of like cutting people down. And we were playing Bush Middle School, and they had a running back. Man, he probably was like 5'10", somewhere around there. But he was like kind of chunky.
Okay.
And he broke through the hole. He running down the sideline. I'm like, "Man, I gotta tackle this dude." And we playing at Fair Park. They had that old Astro turf. So I run him down, and he's trying to run me over, but I cut him. I knock his legs from up under him, and I get up, and my arm is tingling. I'm like, "Man, I probably knocked my shoulder out of place." And so I look, literally my whole arm is like pink. Like it's on this arm, but like my tattoo is like covered it up.
Yeah.
Like my whole arm is like pink. I'm like, "What?" So I run to the sideline. Kid you not. They get a water bottle, they spray some water over it, they put a bandage on it, it's like, "Go back out there." I was like, "What?" I was like,
First
"Oh my
introduction
God."
to being a man.
Yeah. So then he break down the sideline again. And I was like, "I ain't cutting this food no more." So I'm fast enough. So he run by me, right? He's running. I'm faster than him. So I can go in front of him and try to tackle him. But I was like, nah, I kind of let him get in front of me a little bit and jumped on his back. So I tackled him like that for the rest of the guy. I just kept jumping on his back. Like I was trying to hit him. Because if I try to hit him up top, I'm too small. He just run me over.
Yeah.
So I just kind of like tackled from the back. I horse collar him a few times. It worked for me. But so 7th grade, I started playing football. I didn't try out for the basketball team at all. I don't know. I guess I just kind of like get acclimated to the area still. So I didn't play. But then 8th grade, that's when that was the turning point for me because I got taller, I got stronger, I got bigger, I got faster. Like all these different things just started to happen. I went from being like 5'5" to like 5'10", like over the summer, like literally like huge difference. And I went to play, I was running back. And so I was fast, I was still fast, I was bigger now. And they were just like handing me the ball. And that was it. I remember I scored like 7 touchdowns like one game. Like it was crazy just because like I was that bigger and I was faster. And after the season was over, we ended up losing in the championship. And so then after that, did we go to the championship? I think we lost the games to go to the championship, or either we lost in the championship.
Mm-hmm.
But then like I ended up trying out for the basketball team, and we ended up going to the championship in basketball, and we lost.
Okay.
But that was the moment. Like 8th grade was the moment that I knew like, man, like I'm a pretty dang good athlete, and it just all depends on what I want to do and how far I want to take it.
Hey, and that's crazy because, I want to say around the 8th grade, I kind of realized like, hey, I ain't as bad as I think I am. Like if I kind of work at it, I'll be pretty good. So I'm gonna ask you this question too. During your high school years, we all know, everybody knows that you were a special player. But at what point did you really realize, like, hey, I got a chance at this? Not even just college, but just the next level.
The next level?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. I think it was my sophomore year. A lot of people don't know, but I only played 3 games my sophomore year because I ended up tearing up my knee. I dislocated my patella.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of rehab. I didn't have surgery until after the season was over.
Mm-hmm.
So I rehabbed and I was able to come back and play like the last 3 games. And at that point, it was kind of like, all right, I'm going to see what type of player I really am.
Mm-hmm.
The first game back, I had 3 touchdowns. And I mean, it was like we were playing against a team in Tuscaloosa, somewhere down there. But we ended up winning the game. Mind you, we haven't won a game like up to this point. Right. So when I come back, we ended up winning our first game. I think it was Brookwood. I think that's who we played. Okay. And I had 3 touchdowns. And so the next game, we ended up playing Jess Lanier. Okay. Against Jess Lanier, I think I ended up scoring 2 touchdowns, but we ended up losing. But like now I'm in a groove of like, okay, like it slowed down because my freshman year I played, but I played like sparingly. Right. And I was just all over the place. So my go back to my freshman year. Mm-hmm. So I get there, you know how they let you in the 8th grade, they allow you to come to your school and you kind of play the jamboree game. Bro, I didn't get in at all during the jamboree game. Like I didn't take 1 snap. I had my helmet on the whole time, right? But I get it. You know, I'm an incoming freshman. You just kind of practice and just kind of see how everything goes. Yeah. We get into training camp. They like this how you know you like a new kid or a freshman or a rookie. They give you like the face man with the bar down the middle, like Charles Haley. And I'm just like, man, come on, like y'all doing too much now. So like I got this bar, you can't see. I'm trying to catch a ball, and it was just too much. So we get into the first game. And our running back at the time, I ain't gonna say his name, I know his name, but he was kind of like, he was very timid. He was a senior. Mm-hmm. And there was this one play, like as soon as you get it, it's like a delayed handoff. So I was playing running back. It's like a delayed handoff, and you're supposed to bounce to the right. I didn't play defense at all. My freshman year, I just played all offense. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's a delayed handoff. You get it, and you kind of bounce out to the right. Like as soon as you get it, like you got to bounce it. And he just kept getting hit. He fumbled like 2 times. And then coach had put me in, and I was just like, what? Like I was like 3rd or 4th on the depth chart, and he just like put me in the game. Yeah. So he put me in, I get it, I hit it, I bounced it immediately, 30-yard gain, right? Right. From then on, like Buddy didn't get back in the game. Like he never got back in the game. And then even like the next week in practice, like I was the starter. It was just like, oh snap. So starting quarterback get hurt like the 4th game, right? Like this is how crazy this is. Right. The head coach come in and is like, hey, can you throw? And I'm like, yeah, I can throw, right? I never played quarterback. Like I promise you, I had never played quarterback. Pee-wee, middle, nothing. He come to me, can you throw? I'm like, yeah. He's like, all right, we're gonna have you throw some routes today. I'm like, all right, cool. So, you know, I'm spinning, I'm throwing it, just spinning. And he's like, man, I didn't know you could throw. I'm like, yeah. He's like, all right, you're going to start a quarterback this week. I was like, what?
Hey, straight to the fire.
So now I'm the starting quarterback, and we go play against Vestavia, right? And I'm like, come on, dog. Like, you can't do freshman. I'm out there spinning it, though, like throwing it, like hit him. Like, I'm getting sacked like a mug, too, but I'm still trying to, like throw it and get it to him. Right. So we ended up losing that game, and I think I threw like my first touchdown. So then we come back the next week, we play against Carver, and I'm like, oh, this about to be cake, right? Like I just played against Vestavia, that's a top 10 team in the state. Right. And now we playing against Carver, who's like a bottom tier team. I was like, oh, it's gonna be easy. Sure. Kid you not, man. I came out, I was spinning it. I'll never forget this one play. Never, as long as I live. It was a wide receiver. Like at the school, I know his name too. I ain't gonna call him out. I don't want people to think I'm calling him out.
You cool. You cool.
So we do a play action, right? And as I do the play action, I turn literally a dude in my face. He about to tear me up. I can try to avoid him, take off running. B, I can stand in the pocket, try to deliver. It's a deep ball. I'm talking about it's deep. I said, oh, you know what? I'm just stay in the pocket. I'm gonna deliver. I'm gonna show some grit, some toughness. Right?
Yeah.
Right? Boom, throw it. I'm talking about I get like clobbered, like hit me in the chest. I'm like, oh, I can't breathe.
Yeah.
Bro, dude's wide open, running, streaking by himself. Right in the hand, he dropped it. I was so hot. I think at that point I started becoming like more vociferous in terms of like just telling like people how it is. Like, bro, you really not that good. Like you do all that talking like you not that good. And I was so mad. I went to coach and I was like, get him out the game. I was like, get him out. Like he had to go. Like you can't be doing this, bro. Like, nah, because he had dropped like Chapaz like earlier a few games. I'm like, he's still starting, man. Get him out. So that like at that point, I was like, all right, cool. I'm a okay athlete, right? Sophomore year, it's supposed to be a big year. End up messing my knee up, but then I came back those 3 games. So the second game against Jess Lanier was kind of like, man, okay, I'm all right. Like we lost, but I'm okay. I scored 2 touchdowns and they had like the top running back in the state. And I was like, yeah, he was all right. We get to the third game against Fairfield. Fairfield, they wasn't really that good. But like if you're a really good player, like you don't like when you're playing against teams that are not good, you don't just do well, you dominate them. And that's what let you know, like, yeah, nah, I'm really good. Like you have to dominate. You don't just do well, you dominate them.
Yeah.
That game I caught 3 touchdown passes, and I think there was like 66, 80, 87, right? Three touchdown passes. They was big, but they weren't like all just deep ball when I'm running by guys. These are like slants where you like stiff arm, spin, break out down the sideline, right? 80 yards. Next one was like a corner out, catch, stiff arm, break it out. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm not just running by people, but I'm actually like making moves, doing things, and like to score. And that game, it was like, yo, like I didn't just do well, like I dominated them. And then moving forward from now on, like I always like had that mentality, like when I step out on this field, like you better come with it. Even like when I played against like Simeon Castile and he was like all world. We didn't have a quarterback, but I was like, I'm playing wide receiver this game. And they were just like, what? So I just kind of like from my sophomore year from playing like wide receiver, right? Well, my freshman year to playing running back, quarterback. Then my sophomore year, I get hurt, and then I start, just go strictly to wide receiver. And then to like my junior year, where I'm like running back, wide receiver, safety, it was just kind of like, okay, cool. Like I'm starting to see that I could play multiple positions. And then going against like Simeon Castile, a guy who's like one of the top, like cornerbacks in the state, and doing well against him without even having a quarterback, I was like, you know what? If he's going to the University of Alabama, I know I'm getting a scholarship once more well because like I'm doing my thing. And so then getting to my senior year, and it was a wrap because I had everything slowed down for me then. I could pretty much go out there and do whatever I wanted to do, and nobody can stop it.
Yeah, hey, and I was at that Fairfield game, and I was like, yo, he's special. And I always he's special.
That game was. And it was like, I'll be honest, like going into that game, I was kind of nervous because when you playing against kids that aren't like very skilled or competent, like the one thing that they all do is like try to grab your, like they go for your leg. They don't really try to hit you head up or whatever, or try to tackle you up top.
Right.
And coming off a knee injury, I was like, man, they gonna do something stupid. Watch, right? You know what I mean? I'm like, how they say like the person with the gun, the scary one, like it's the one that always shoot you because they scared. Yeah. It was like that's how I felt playing against them, that I was gonna get hurt by people that like weren't really good or
just some random dude.
Yeah, just some random. You're like, yeah, I had him. So yeah, and yeah, I did play with a Peanut too in high school too. He was a beast.
A beast.
He was different. I ain't never seen nobody like that in middle or high school. I'm not gonna be lie. Like if he hadn't got injured, like at the University of Louisville, like man, he was on like some Julius Pepper type body build, ability, man, yeah, and unfortunately, like he had a neck injury, And those things happen to, you know, some of the really good players that never really get the opportunity. But I never forget it in high school, just watching him just like dominate. Like nobody could stop him, man. Like, and it was the same way in middle school football. It was like, like this dude is 6'4" in middle school, and he's built like, I mean, he's built different. So, but yeah, man, high school, 10th grade, those last 3 games, that's when I knew like I was a very special player, and that, you know, if I really worked at this, like really work and train, and that's when my training regimen, everything's, you know, drastically shifted.
Man, hey, and one thing I can say too, man, like everything you have now, you deserve, because you were putting in the time. Like you were in the weight room when we were walking by, like you were in there getting it in, full of, like I'm talking about like getting right, pulling trucks, chopping wood, like is, you know what I'm saying? It was, you just have like a whole nother determination at an early age. Like, where did that come from?
Yeah, man, that grind was different. I think just growing up in that area, seeing how, you know, most athletes that were good, they never really gave themselves a shot because they didn't devote themselves.
Right.
What I mean by that is that you can't split yourself between, you know, athletics, the streets, athletics, girls, athletics, and anything else that's going on. Like you have to devote yourself to being like an athlete, like fully. Like once school is over, like you're not just student athlete right now. Like you're an athlete. You have to devote your time, your body, your mind, everything has to go to it. And so that's really like what propelled me, because there were a lot of good guys that came, you know, out of the school. But the one thing that was evident was they all came back. And like what I mean by come back, they come back like empty-handed. Like they come back no degree. They come back, you know, back with their mom. They come back to the streets. They come back chasing the same women. Like everything was the same, you know, for every single guy. Like I'm not talking about just one. I'm talking about every guy that was successful. They came back and they did like the same thing. Like they didn't come back like, here's my degree, right? Like you got a master's degree. You know what I mean? Like the guys before us, like they didn't have an undergrad degree. I'm talking about they went to North Carolina State. They went to Alabama. They went to Auburn. They went to, you know, Florida State. Like they went to bigger schools than we went to. But yet it's still, they didn't have that devotion to be able to, you know, prepare themselves to get to where they were trying to go. And a lot of people, like, it's a mental mind space. You know what I mean? It's like, where are you trying to go? I knew where I was trying to go. It was evident. Like, it like once I realized that, you know, my jump shot was a set shot, I can get to the goal good, but I ain't dunking and, you know, doing all this crazy stuff. So like the NBA, that's out of the question. Baseball picked up, you know, like you said, like my sophomore year, I just go out there and it's like, all right, you like all stay. And I was like, oh crap, like, okay. But I never really devoted myself to baseball. Had I would have done that, who knows? But I really started to devote myself in football, and it would just like, it would show whenever I got on the field. I was never tired. I didn't have those, you know, little nagging injuries. Physically, I was great. Mentally, I started to learn the game more, so things started to slow down for me. And that was it, man. That was it.
I can attest to the hard work, man. So let me ask you this.
You should have came pull that truck with me though. I needed a little help some days now. I needed a little help.
Come on, man. I'll go shoot.
Man, some days it felt like that truck was in like, and it was an old like 1950, you know, all metal like truck. Some days it felt like that thing was just stuck in park, bro. I was like, you sure it's in neutral? He was like, yeah, just keep pulling. I was like, bro, it ain't moving.
I'm looking down the hill like, oh, they tripping, bro. Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was rough.
So, you know, around your senior year, you started getting recruited. Was it your senior year, your junior year?
Man, I actually started getting recruited my junior year.
Okay.
So I want to say like around like the end of the season, Kentucky had offered me a scholarship. And, you know, back then, most of the offers came like in a written letter. And I'm gonna be honest with you, like I was about to throw it away because I was getting stuff from everybody. Like, I got so much mail from Nebraska. I was like, dang, Nebraska like me? Like,
Yeah.
the Cornhuskers, you know what I mean? Like during that time, you know, like Frazier and all those guys. I was like, man, like, yeah. I was like, I'll go run, I'll do an option or whatever they want me to do.
Yeah.
But they never like offered me. Like it was just like the same old letters. Hey, you know, keep doing your thing. Hey, we're watching you.
Yeah.
I was like, man, whatever. So like I kept getting like the same generic mail, and I was like, whatever. So I just started like just throwing them away. Like I didn't even like open and look at them. I just started throwing them away. That's why it wasn't handwritten. It was typed up like a regular note. And people used to tell you if it was handwritten, that was the one you opened. Yeah. So it was the one from Kentucky was typed up too. I was like, man, I'm about to throw this away. But I was like, you know, I ain't really got too much mail from Kentucky. You know, Nebraska and some of those other schools, they send a ton. Yeah. So I was like, all right, cool. Man, I opened it and I read. I was like, Earl, you know, your dedication on the field, that is evident. You know, we love you as a player. We think you're great. We like to offer you a full scholarship. Be a Wildcat. I was like, what? Yeah. And then I was like, no, check this out. Like they legit offer me. So she was like, yeah, that's cool. You know, you just gotta make sure like your grades stay up. You know, go. I had already did the ACT, so all that's like academically, I finished third in the class. So you know, I wasn't really like where I should have finished second, but that last semester I was doing stuff. But it was it was interesting, man, because before I went D1, the last person to go was like in the 90s. Right? Like I'm talking about like 95, 96.
When Allen was it?
Quint. I think it was like Quint now. Quint, what was the running back? Courtray. I think they were the last ones to go like D1. So you go all the way like from 96, 97 to like 2005, somewhere around there. And it's like, dang, like that's a long gap. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I was just like, okay, cool. Like I got D1 offer, but now I gotta keep going. And I'll never forget Vanderbilt head coach not head coach, but assistant like offensive line coach Robert Caldwell. Mm-hmm. He came into the school, and now you know the school that we went to, it wasn't a school where, you know, like you see a lot of white people. There was like 2 white people in the whole building, right? You had Mr. Prosper, you had the chemistry teacher, Mr. Powell, and we didn't have no white teacher. No. Yeah, we did. We had Miss Language across from Miss Parker.
Parker, yeah, I know you.
Yeah, so there were only 3 white people in the building, and those people were known in the neighborhood, so they were good. Right. To have a white person, first of all, come in during this time, to have them come into West End to be looking for an athlete, it was just, you know, unheard of. It was different, and he came in, and I'm looking at him like, bro, you know where you at? Like, what you doing around here? And he was like, hey, man, we love you as a player. You know, we done our study on you. Your grades are great. You fit in with what we do at Vanderbilt, and we love to offer you a scholarship. I was like, all right, cool. So then he was like, we'll be at your house in 2 days. So then they end up like coming for a house visit and stuff. Mm-hmm. And many people don't know this story, but I was staying in Central Park at the time. Right. And so like they came, did the meeting or whatever, and then they bounced. Like when they bounced, like I heard gunshots ring out. I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, oh man. So then they called me. I was like, bro, don't tell me they shot these folks. Call up. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh my God, they did this. But then he called me and was like, man, have you ever, because, you know, I was being recruited as a receiver. Mm-hmm. And some schools offered, like Notre Dame offered me as a safety. Mm-hmm. And he was just like, would you be cool playing like running back if he needed you to? And I was like, man, I don't care what I play as long as it's on the offensive side of the ball. Right. He was like, all right, cool. So he was like, man, we just want you to come to our school. Like, that's what it came down to. A lot of people ask me why I chose Vanderbilt over, Kentucky, Notre Dame, all these other big schools.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I went somewhere where somebody like genuinely wanted me. Like,
Right.
they were like, man, look, we want you here. You could play whatever, like, just come to our school. And
Right.
so I did, man. Everything else worked out for me.
That's cool, man. Like
Yeah.
same here recruiting process, getting letters from everywhere, but
Mm-hmm.
until you get that handwritten letter, it's not really official. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
for sure.
And,
Yeah.
I kind of, I chose my school because I felt as if I was wanted at the
Yeah.
time, but it didn't work. I kind of bounced around and I found my fit at South.
That's
So
all that matters. You
yeah,
find where the people want you, man. Like
right.
my nephew right now, he's one of the top receivers in the nation. Only advice I give him is, man, go where people want you. Like, I don't try to skew him one way or another. I just
Mm-hmm.
tell him, look, wherever you feel that people want you, go.
Right.
If you don't feel that, then don't go.
Don't go. That's true. I mean, you'll know when it's genuine.
Oh, for sure.
And one advice I would give to young guys too is kind of talk with the athletes to get a feel for what's going on, where you going, who you dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't sign blindly off of what you think somebody is, because when you get there, them people, there ain't no more. Come on, let's go get something to eat.
Oh, for sure. So I think one of the most imperative message to the athletes that are being recruited right now is that it's a business for those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take, I got an offer from here, I got an offer from there, I'm this big deal. When you get on campus, it's all business.
Yeah.
What I mean by business is that you got to handle your thing in the classroom,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to handle your thing on the field or the court or wherever your arena is. You can't assume that, oh, coach like me. Man, coach like everybody. That's why he recruit all these players.
Yep.
I think there's 95 guys that are on scholarship or something like that at most of these universities. Mm-hmm. Coach gave the same pitch to all these guys. But what you have to understand is that it's a business. If I handle my business in the classroom, and if I handle my business on the field, everything else is going to take care of itself. Don't be looking for coach to give you a handout. Don't look for coach to say, hey, yeah, you're going to be the starting wide receiver. Guess what? He told the other two wide receivers that signed the same class that they're going to be starting wide receivers. Good. So it's the same message across the board, man. When I went in at Vanderbilt, I was like the fourth or fifth receiver.
Right.
I just had more luck than other guys. Yeah. The number one receiver got hurt. Yeah. The number two receiver had the ankle sprain. The number three receiver really was scary and wasn't that good. So they was like, all right, Earl, it's your turn. And man, Jay Cutler, we linked up and we went from there. But you guys have to understand that they don't owe you anything. Right. Nobody owes you anything. Right. You have to go earn it. As a student athlete, take care of your business in the classroom, take care of your business on the field, and everything else speak for itself. But don't go in like kids nowadays with this social media and all this stuff, man. Yeah. They go in with these false, perception that, hey, I'm the top recruit, it's given to me. No, it don't work like that, man. Yeah. It do not work like that.
And speaking of academics, like when you went into school, was it more so like were you pushed into a major, or it was something that you kind of filled your way through and chose on your own?
Yeah, at Vanderbilt, you just kind of like filter through it and do your own thing. Mm-hmm. There are some guys who all chose HOD, Human Organization Development, mm-hmm. which I never really understood why. Because if you're in that arena, you're specifically going into it's like the business major for Vanderbilt. Mm-hmm. But I think they since got rid of it. It's gone because all athletes used to be in it. Mm-hmm. And they're like, why are you guys all of you guys are getting into this? And it was easy. It was an easy major for guys to just kind of fly by. Right. But you get to choose. They don't choose it for you. And for me, I started out neuro. I wanted to be like a neurosurgeon. Mm-hmm. And that work was just too strenuous. And then I got into political science. I liked the poli-sci a lot, but I just knew that wasn't for me. So then I kind of did a little sociology. Sociology was okay, but I ultimately ended up doing my degree in secondary education with a minor in sociology. So then I did my master's in learning, diversity, and urban studies. Mm-hmm. And now I'm doing my PhD in higher education leadership and policy, in policy studies. So everything just kind of flow with the leadership aspect in terms of, higher education policies, and really finding out ways to help, student athletes. Most of my work is devoted in around like athletics and, equality.
Got you. So for me, and what that's called, you said all those guys are getting inside of that one major, all the athletes, they call that academic clustering, where we take all these athletes, stick them inside of one program that we know they're going to graduate with. And that way our rate will be so high that when we go pitch to the parents, hey, we got a 98% of graduations of athletes.
And what a lot of people don't know is like some professors be in on that. Like academic counselors be in on that. Like everybody like play their part in terms of clustering and making sure like these kids graduate. But you're doing them a disservice, because once they graduate, they go into the workforce, and those skills they didn't really develop.
Right.
So if I'm at the University of Houston, and I'm doing communications for my undergrad degree, and I'm really not that well in the area, but it's an easy major that they can just push by because they already got a professor that's gonna like give me the grades. Then they doing me a disservice, because once I actually get into the workforce, it's gonna hinder me from being successful.
Right. So let me ask you this, and just talking about that in general, it's a such thing as a bubble in college athletes. They put you inside of this bubble where you eat over here. I don't know if it was like that for y'all guys at Vanderbilt. Y'all have your own food place to eat.
Yeah.
You got your own dorms. You got your own academic counselors, tutors. Like, for you, were you able to like network any or participate in any type of like internships, or was it already kind of just strictly?
So you are placed in a bubble like at Vanderbilt in terms of athletics. But what's funny is like me and my roommate, we were like in that bubble. Like everybody like lived in like the same dorm. We lived in a dorm way across campus that nobody else lived in. So it was it was cool just to be in a different space with other kids and learn from them, some of their cultures, and things really began to take off in terms of being culturally understood, right? Because like a lot of kids that were in the in the dorm, they didn't understand our background, coming from low SES, socioeconomic status, and so they were learning from us. We were learning from them too, business wise. We're learning from them, family, all sorts of things. So it was one that really helped me to understand life a lot better, man, because there are so many people involved in you becoming the person that you are as you get older, that you don't really understand the nature of those relationships and how they mature. So it was it was different.
Gotcha. That makes sense for us, and for me, honestly, I kind of just beat to the drum or whatever was set in front of me,
Yeah.
Where we stand? Okay, I just go on, and I kind of
that's funny because I like when I got there, I was just like, man, look, I'm not just going to do anything. Like I'm gonna pretty much do like what I want to do in terms of stuff outside of like athletic. So it was they partnered me like with the kid that was from like the Birmingham metro area. He didn't go to Birmingham City schools, but he was in the area. And man, we just didn't click, right? So I was like, I can't room with this guy. Like, this is not gonna work for me. So then like we ended up finding like a switch with the other guy. And so like the dude that I became like roommates with was like my best man in my wedding, just being able to build those relationships with people that can help you grow. And not allow like the university or the athletic department to place you with people that they think you should be with. I never roll like that type of way where, oh yeah, anything outside of athletics, I'm gonna do what y'all want me to do. I was like, man, screw y'all. Like, I'm gonna go play football, make sure my grades are good. But in terms of my life, like, I'm gonna figure this out,
That makes sense. And you know, you made a decision as far as like, you know, with football, you have to do what 3 years before you can even
Yeah, you have to do
start
3.
considering, you know, putting your name in the draft or going in that direction. Like, what made you make that bold decision? Because I talked to my dad about it, and I told him
Yeah,
I wanted to leave early and just go overseas and play. But he was
yeah.
like, "Nah, stay and you know go ahead and finish." What made you just say, "I'm out"?
Man, it's funny because like what I just told you, I kind of like rock to like the beat of my own drum. Like I don't really allow like other people to infiltrate like my mental space. Like if there's something I want to do, I do it.
Mm-hmm.
If there's somewhere I want to go, I go. You know, like I don't allow any circumstances. I don't allow exterior factors to like matter in like things that I want to do.
Right.
So when I decided to make that decision, I just sat down with my family and I was like, look, we you know, we've done our due diligence. At the time, our financial advisor knew Mel Kiper. He had reached out to Mel Kiper and some of these other guys and looked at where I was projected to be drafted. And they're like, if the draft, you know, goes well for receivers, you'll be somewhere in the second, third round. It was like worst case scenario, third round, right? So I was like, worst case scenario, third round. I was like, you know, where I'm at, where I'm from, you know, that's $1 million. You know what I mean? So I was like, all right, cool. So I had told my family I was in the draft, and I was like, all right, that works for us. I sit down with the head coach. I've only sat down with him like 2 or 3 times. So I sit down with the head coach. First time I sat down with him, I asked him, could I go play baseball? Baseball, I had went took like batting practice with the baseball team. And he literally took his glasses off, looked at me and was like, I can't let you. I was like, oh snap! Like, but I could. That was the one thing that I needed. Like, you know, like I'm on a football scholarship. I can't just go play baseball. I do understand that. Yeah. But he looked at me and just told me, I can't let you do that. And I was like, dang. But he let some other guys go play basketball, but they weren't like, you know what I mean, like all SEC players. And so when I sat down with him and I was like, yo, coach, like, you know, I sat down with my family and we think it's in my best interest that I leave. He did like the same tactic, took his glasses off, look at me, and he was like, well, you know, you had kind of a down year this year. I was like, man, that was all SEC again. Like, what are we talking about? He was like, yeah, you know, you had those, you know, those minor, like I had ankle injury, dude fell on my ankle. He like had an ankle injury, you know, caused you to, you know, not really play as well, you know, scouts to see that on film. And I was like, man, coach, I appreciate, you know, all this that you're telling me, but I don't feel like there's anything that I could do to improve my draft status at the University of Vanderbilt. I'm the all-time SEC leading receiver after 3 years. I mean, I don't really know what else I could do. I can stay here and just pad those stats, but at the end of the day, what if I get hurt and then, you know, I never get the opportunity to go pro? Right. So I was like, you know what? You know, coach, I appreciate it. I'm going pro. And he's like, all right, well, let's do this the right way. So then they call like a press conference, like literally like same day. I'm like, dang, bro, like y'all dirty. Like, like, man, like, okay, y'all just trying to push me out. So I did the press conference. It's like, man, look, you know, I appreciate everything y'all done for me here at Vanderbilt. And I really am appreciative how you taken me and my family in and helped us to, you know, grow as people. And, you know, I'm entering the 2008 NFL draft, and I'll be back to finish up my degree, make it more. And that was it. So, I mean, everything I said, I stood on my word. I went back, I finished my undergrad, and I got a master's from there. So, I mean, it was just awkward. But like I said, I just kind of like rock to like the beat of my own drum because it's my life. You know what I mean? Like when I'm gone, I can't sit back and be like, oh, I should have listened to coach. I should have went back to school. Bro, what am I going? What am I staying around here for another year for? For what? There's nothing to accomplish in terms of athletics. Like I'm done with that. Yeah, I could have stayed and finished up my, you know, my degree, but it was like,
that's what you go to school for, to make money. So.
Yeah, I was like, I'm out. So,
yeah. So hey, so you know, I had a chance to experience some of Chicago with you.
Yeah.
As far as just, you know, coming to games, hanging out and stuff like that. Like,
absolutely.
What was your mentality? Because honestly, for you to retire after 6 years and the conversation we have about guys that play for a long time, like your mindset had to be different. Like, what was your mindset as far as like handling yourself as a professional and setting yourself up for life afterwards?
Um, Man, I never forget. I had this talk with my financial advisor.
Mm-hmm.
I was down. We were about to play the Cowboys like the night before. I had just signed like my new deal. I think maybe that year or the year before. I can't really remember. But I had just signed my new deal,
Mm-hmm.
and we were just talking numbers. And I was like, "So you mean to tell me if I have X amount number in my bank account, and I can live off this for the rest of my life with interest?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Easy." I was like, "You're joking." He's like, "No." And I was like, "Well, that's the goal. That's the number."
Right.
And he was like, "All right, cool." So I hit that number my 5th year, and I was like, everything else now is just like a plus, right?
Yeah.
We hadn't had. I mean, we were still renting a house. I ain't own a house, and I was like, all right, cool. We'll save this money, and we'll take this money, and we'll go buy us a house.
Mm-hmm.
Going into my 6th season, they asked me to take a pay cut, and I'm like, all right, cool. But they allowed me to make, I think I ended up taking like $1.5 million pay cut, somewhere around there. But they allowed me to make it back like through like incentives. So I was like, all right, cool, whatever you guys want to do, we'll do it. Right. So I ended up taking a pay cut. I ended up making, I think I took $1 million pay cut, and I ended up making 500 of it back through catches. So I was like, all right, cool. I'm gonna take this money that I should have got, and I'm gonna just go ahead and buy my house. So that was my last season in Chicago. And so going into like free agency or whatever, we had a call with them, and it was based on the premise of, all right, what do you guys plan on doing? Like, am I gonna take another pay cut? Like what's going on? Are you gonna cut me out, right? Like, what's up? They was like, no, you're good, man. We look forward to having you in the offseason. All right, cool. Bro, it get like a couple days out, like into free agency, and they like called me and was like, "Yeah, we need you to take a pay cut." And I was just sitting there like, "Man, we had this call, bro. Like, we could have been done this, Yeah. So at the point now, I'm just like, "Man, screw it, bro. Like, just release me." And they was like, "No. Before we do that, the coaches want to talk to you."
Mm-hmm.
Coach called me and was like, "Man, we really like you. Just this kid, he's rising. We think he's gonna be good." Kid didn't even play like 3 games. Like, he was just in, like, he do. So I was like, all right, man, y'all do what y'all gotta do. I'm out. And he was like, man, well, you could be out number 4 seed. We're gonna do a lot of 4 wide stuff. I was like, I'm out, man. Just let me go.
Cool.
And so they ended up, they released me. And at that point, I was like okay with it, because I knew like the whole reason you play sports, like you play it to like for like enjoyment and that passion, but at the same time you play it for financial security.
Right.
Like that was our avenue to defeating poverty, to eradicating it for our siblings, for our kids, right? That's why you get into those things, because you know what it could provide for you financially and monetarily. So that was my whole deal. And once that number was locked in and we had that number, I was like, what, whatever. So I ended up getting picked up by Cleveland, but I always knew that, if God would allow me to play like 1 more season or whatever, then I'd do it, if my body felt well. But the time came, God was like, all right, Earl, man, you had a good run. Get on out. I got on out, and I don't regret it. I don't have any second thoughts about it.
Yeah, respect. I remember when you were going through that little period, man.
Yeah, it's a tough transition now, because it's something that you've been doing since you was what, 8? Like I've been playing football since I was 8, and then I'm 28, and now I don't do anything at all football related.
Right.
So for 20 years, I've been putting on a helmet and shoulder pads, and now it's like, nope, no helmet, no shoulder pads. So
yeah. And I know we talk about it. I know I always ask you, like, get into coaching, do this, do you always like, nah.
Yeah.
You got,
Yeah, because now I'm exploring like other identities of myself, right? So like right now, like my studies are centered around like intersectionality. So as a Black male student athlete, that was like all my identities when I was in college. Now, like as a dad, a scholar, you know what I mean? Like all these other, you know, even like my class, like it's different, right? I went from lower class to higher, like everything is different. So like my intersections are like totally different. And now I'm able to explore those multiple identities a lot more and not just confine myself to athletics and sports.
Right.
And I think that's key because like you see a lot of guys, like for instance, LeBron James, right? Like athlete, father, filmmaker, radio, you know what I mean? Businessman. Like he does all these things now because like he's put in that work as an athlete. That's one of his identities that, you know, people can relate to and go to. But as a person, there's so many other identities within you, and he's exploring those things. And he's doing well. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, man. Like we just get confined to just being this one person, and I can attest.
That's why when you ask me about like coaching, I'm like,
yeah,
it's still sports related, and I want to explore other things that is like not directed at sports, right? So like a lot of people's like, oh man, I honestly had an opportunity to do a podcast on the network, and I sat down with my team and was just like, no, like right now it's not in my best interest, you know?
Right. And I was gonna say, just like you were in the band, like, you know, I was in the band, and it was kind of like, nah, you don't need to do that. You need to do that. So it's like, how can you stop a kid from from having multiple identities? Because like, you look at it, now that you say that, I didn't know you were in the band, but now that you say that, now I see where your music background comes from. Because you know what I'm saying, you have an ear for music.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that ear for music is it stems from poetry.
Okay.
So like at Vanderbilt, I took this poetry class, and the professor came to me and was like, she's like, you do this a lot? And I was like, what do you mean, right? And she was like, no, like poetry. She was like, this is really good. And that was the first class that I got like a legit A at Vanderbilt. It was my second year. But then I was like B- B student, right? Like right there. But when I got to that class, it was the first one I made an A. And she was like, no, like you're really good. And so I really just started to explore that a lot more. And even now, like with my wife and her music, you know, like helping her out and just writing and really having a feel and an ear for it. It's like, that's an identity that I've had that I'm able to explore now. But when I was playing, you know, obviously you see some guys like Le'Veon Bell and those other guys exploring those identities because they cemented themselves as player. But I didn't really step out on those identities when I was a player. I was so focused on, you know, writing a blueprint instead of actually acting on it.
Right. And I remember you telling me that you was like, man, whatever it is you want to do, just go do it. Because, you know, we talk about it a lot. I'm like, man, what you think about this? What you like, bro? Just do it. If it don't work,
just do it.
Just next. You know?
Just do it, man. That's the thing, man. Like, so every morning I wake up, like I pray, and then I read the Bible, and then I pray again, right? And so yesterday, like my word was Mark 9:23. What do you mean if I can? Jesus asked. Anything is possible if a person believes, right? So like I'm reading that, and Jesus like what you mean? Like if I can, what? Like, are you really questioning yourself?
Right.
Like why? Like you can do anything if you believe. Like you really like you can. Like there's no limitations to what a person can do. Right. And so every time you and I have those conversations, it's like you're like, man, I'm like, B, do it. Like do it, like explore it. Like if you fail, you fail. I mean, you take an L, that's a lesson learned. You know what I mean? Right. So do it. You learn from it every single time, man. And the more and more you learn, the more experience you gain, the more you're able to give that knowledge to your kids, the more you're able to give that knowledge to other people. Because there are some you're going to have some lessons in life that you may not agree with.
Right.
That's fine.
Right. That's
a season that, you just took a lot of lessons. The next season, you may take a lot of W's and be like, yo, like, here it is, So I always look at it like that way, man. And just like I said, I always just rock to like my own beat, bro. Like for real, because when you do that, like you're living a fulfilled life that you want, like a purpose-driven life. Like you're not living something someone else wants you to do. Like you're not living how your mom, your dad, your cousin. Like there's a lot of things that transpired for me like throughout life that I literally like told people no. And like, and this started like in college, like people want me to sign power of attorney. People want to do like all these other things for me. Hey, just say I'll do X, Y, and Z. And I'm literally telling them like, no, like if I can't do it, then it don't need to be done, or it could wait to be done. And that's just, man, look, I'm gonna tell your son BJ, hey, beat him like, man, I'm thinking about playing cricket. Hey, BJ, hey, go do it, man. Hey, you'll figure it out. You probably never played cricket a day in your life.
And what's so weird, like we go to Top Golf a whole lot, and and I don't think he really at this age he don't understand like why I'm taking him there.
Yeah,
I think he's just hitting the ball. I'm like, yo, I'm showing you something that I never picked up until I got to college, and I took a class. So I'm gonna put a golf club in your hand. I'm gonna put a soccer ball in front of you, and we can even go and play tennis. Like we're gonna be well rounded because
for sure.
A lot of people don't know like the golf course is where the powerful people are.
Yeah.
And just being able to know how to swing a golf club can get you in places that and get things done that wouldn't get done on the basketball court.
Right.
Or on the football, because the mentalities are different. You know, the conversations are different inside of those different arenas.
Yeah, and definitely he's experienced different cultures. Like whether we want to admit it or not, golf ain't a black person sport. That ain't in terms of the culture, that's not what we do, you know? And so by you introducing him to that, like he's learning, you know, he's learning a lot. When I got to college, the only golf that I knew was Tiger Woods, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? And that was it. Now, you know, I know Phil Mickelson and all these other guys that played Jack. And it wasn't until I got to college when I'm starting, you know, I'm seeing people on college campus and they're like, yeah, we golf. I'm like, yeah, golf? They got scholarship for golfing? Like, what's going on? And it was then where I really started to understand, you know, like, hey, man, like culture, like this is what other people do. Here's how they learn, you know, they do other stuff. So, man, kudos to you for doing that too. And for me and my son, like we explore like a lot of things. Like we like to build. We learn, you know, teaching him business concept, teaching him the principle of a dollar. You know, he this Fortnite game and wanted to buy, you know, all these V-Bucks every single week. So we give him, you know, chores around the house where, you know, he can make $100 a week. And he's like, all right, cool. I'm gonna spend $40 on V-Bucks every week. And I'm like, bro, you spending 40% a year. Every week on V-Bucks. He's like, hey, but I'm saving 60. I was like, all right, man, I got you. So yeah, just teaching them different principles because those things weren't taught to us growing up.
Right, for sure.
It just wasn't. My mom handled all of the finances the best way that she could, and that was it. So nobody ever gave us financial literacy. It was something that we had to seek ourselves, and we had to learn on the go. And you know, some guys are unfortunate, and some guys, you know, like myself, have been fortunate because as I explained earlier, is that team aspect. But with kids, you know, younger kids, making sure that you give that, you know, those principles to them early so they can develop them as they go, I think is important. And you're starting to see that a lot.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. I agree wholeheartedly. So we're going to end on this one right here. If you were to give one piece of advice to just athletes and student athletes that are currently inside of, you know, the NCAA machine, what would that advice be?
Rebel. Go against the NCAA, man. Go against the NCAA, bro. They're crooks. They don't do nothing to take money.
Yeah.
I think the NCAA is antique. I think what they're doing right now is they're trying to catch up to the states. As we see in California and Florida, they've recently released and signed documents to allow student athletes to be compensated off their likeness, which is great. And now you're starting to see the NCAA, they're trying to catch up.
Right.
The NCAA just need to get out. They need to allow the states to govern universities, to give the universities more power to do things and to really be more organized. The NCAA, a lot of people don't really know like how it even came into play. But the NCAA was constructed by the Ivy League schools. Right. The president during the time, I think it was Roosevelt, he saw that a lot of people were dying playing football. And just reading John Thalen's book, A History of Higher Education, just really shed lights on the NCAA and how it was constructed. And so when you see how the president got into it, right? So the government gets into sports because sports is making money. At first, the universities were trying to, so sports started being governed by the students first, right? The alumni was funding the students to go and play against each other, right? So you have the Yale-Harvard game where the students are organizing it. The players are managers and coaches and playing. So that's how it all started on these campuses. It was intramural, but you were playing against other schools too. Okay. So the university saw that, man, like they making money. Like we can use this for enrollment. We can use this for, there are a lot academic. There's a lot of tactics that we can use. We could take this piece and we could use it. So they went to the player coaches and was like, yo, we need this from y'all. And they were like, no, we don't need y'all. We have the alumni that's funding this, right? So guys, they pay for them to get on the train, go play games and stuff like that. So all they were backed, right? They were backed by the alumni. They didn't need the university to come take over. So the universities was like, man, we got to figure a way to get in. President Roosevelt was like, too many people are dying playing football. Right. We have to figure out a way to govern this better. So he called all the leaders from the Ivy League school. They got together. They formed what we know now is the NCAA. Once they formed the NCAA, it gave the power to the universities to take over those current, intramural sports. So then they ended up appointing athletic directors and all those guys in position of power over the teams. Once they start doing that, the alumni money that was going to the players now goes to the university, and the university figure out how they, disperse the money accordingly based on what sport need what. Fast forward, now we're in 2020. Universities are doing well by themselves. States understand what universities need, right? You have some that are private, some that are public, but most of the money is coming from the states. So where does the NCAA come in at now? You don't need them. Yeah, they still govern like certain like schools and help out here and there, make sure structurally things are okay. But the universities are doing that with their conferences. They don't need the NCAA. Right now, if the University of Alabama left the NCAA or they left the SEC, they could still thrive because they are a dominant force.
Anyway, yeah.
So my message to the athletes would be to really get together and figure out a way to dispel and get rid of the NCAA because you don't need them. They're just taking even more money out of the pockets of the university. That's all they're doing. My other message to the athletes is that it's to build you a blueprint. Figure out exactly what you like. Well, figure out exactly who you are, what you like, things you like to do, things you don't like to do, and really try to understand, hey, okay, I'm majoring in communication. But I like to be around like kids. I like to teach kids new things. So that's elementary education too. So now you're figuring out, how do I merge those two together, right? Do I want to be a teacher? Do I want to build curriculums? Do I, there are ways to figure out, how to, merge the two. And that would be my biggest take on it, because not everybody go play professional like we did. Right. Some people have to enter the workforce as soon as they graduate. Right. At Vanderbilt, if you were a fifth-year senior and you wasn't contributing if you was a senior right, and you were redshirted, and it's your 4th year,
Mm-hmm.
and you wasn't contributing to the team, they make you graduate that 4th year. They don't allow that 5th year for you.
Whoa. So you don't get the
Yes.
master's? It's out the door.
You're gone. You're not helping me. You're not helping my team. That's what I'm
Then
trying to tell you. Like, it is a business.
yeah.
It's a bit. You got to get up out of here. Like, you have to go, my friend. Like, you have to go graduate. Like, bye. Like, I seen it firsthand with my roommate. He was redshirted, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't play my freshman year. Sophomore year, he was a redshirt freshman, didn't play, but he's technically a sophomore in school, right? 3rd year, you know, he's a redshirt sophomore, played sparingly, right?
Mm-hmm.
I leave after that. My 4th year, what would have been my 4th year would have been his redshirt junior year. They made him graduate because he was a senior. He was a senior. They was like, you got to get out. You're done. We're done with you.
Yeah, we need
to
to
go in. So you have to go in. Yeah, we need that scholarship. It's a business, man. I'm telling you. And they probably told him the same thing they told me. Hey, man, we want you at our school. You can play anything. I most certainly believe that they told him that.
All right.
But you have to go in with that blueprint, with understanding like who you are, what you like to do, figure out, you know, exactly what you want to accomplish while you're at college. And you have to put it together and you have to do it. And you have to pursue it wholeheartedly, no matter what the coaches say, no matter what other people say, because in those 4 years, if you haven't been productive anywhere in between, you gone.
Goodbye.
You're gone. Even if you redshirt and they give you the extra, you gone.
Yeah,
I've seen that, man. I've seen it. I'm telling you, I'm a witness.
And then sometimes even 1 year by year, like
yeah,
oh, man,
that's
1 year.
Man, listen, you think people think that scholarship is for 4 years, man. That scholarship year by year, they can cut that thing off whenever they want.
Yeah, they feel like it.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to, like you say, you have a plan, stick to it.
Stick to it. You got to stick to it, get to it. So as an athlete, when you enter that university, you got to understand, like, figure out, you know, first you're there as a student athlete, right? You understand that concept of you need to do well in the classroom and you need to do well on the field. But now you have to also put into play your other identities, as in what I want to do, things I want to get accomplished, and how do I do those things? You know, because all this stuff is new to you. Like, you're going from high school, right into college. Now you're trying to figure out, you know, what is what, but go in with a plan, execute that plan. And when you're done, you feel good about it. You know, like, I know somebody that graduated college, they didn't feel good about it because they didn't have a blueprint. They didn't understand, like, what were they trying to accomplish.
Right. And that's really important, man. To be honest, I really didn't have a blueprint, but I was blessed that you know, that the ball and just having parents that kind of cared, you know.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, they were kind of locked in. You know, I could have easily been any of the other people we know, but for whatever reason,
for sure.
You know, I figured it out. I sat down. I worked hard, and you know, you get out of it what you put in.
Yeah.
Oh, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. Well, hey, man, I appreciate it.
Man, anytime, man. Message to the athlete. Y'all check this out. Great content. Yeah. Great host. I appreciate you, brother. Love you, man.
Yeah, love you.
You know, as Black men, you know, we very seldom are allowed that expression, that emotion of telling another man that you love him, because people fear that it's being pushed and pursued in a negative way. But in this way, man, you know, it's all love forever. Anytime you ever need me back on, you know, I'm here, man.
Anything you want to plug before you get off?
Anything? Nah, man. This is a message to the athlete. So, you know, 6 years in the NFL, master's degree, working on a PhD, man. We come from the bottom, and a lot of people talk about coming from the bottom. I lived in housing projects. We had it rough growing up. I grew up in a single parent home, and we both come from the same area. We both come from the same situation. So to be able to see where we're at in life, it's an attest to you know, the people that we've been around, it's an attest to God really strengthening us and giving us that mental fortitude to overcome a lot of things. And, you know, this is where it's at, man. And what I mean by this is where it's at, this is what it takes to get to that point. You know, like we've been there, we've done it. We were in y'all's shoes. We know when, you know, older people come talk to us, we don't want to listen, but trust us, man, this is great content, great information.
Hey, man, I appreciate it, man. Like, wholeheartedly, man. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Absolutely.
Tell Teresa I'm going to send her that, too.
Yeah, I need that.
But, hey, y'all, thank y'all, you know, for tuning in, for watching it. Message to the Young Athlete. I'm your host, Brandon Davis. Again, thank you again to Earl Bennett for stopping through, man.
All day, man. Appreciate you.
All right, appreciate it.